It has been said that the current research in semantics is largely based on the assumption that one of the most promising methods to investigate the semantic structure of a word is by studying the word's linear relationships with other words in typical contexts. In other words, its combinability or collocability. Scholars have established that the semantics of words characterized by common occurrences, in other words, words which regularly appear in common contexts, are correlated, and therefore one of the words within such a pair can be studied through the other. Thus, if one intends to investigate the semantic structure of an adjective, one would best consider the adjective in its most typical syntactical patterns. For example, adjective plus noun, and noun plus link verb plus adjective, and make a thorough study of the meanings of nouns with which the adjective is frequently used. For instance, a study of typical contexts of the adjective bright in the first pattern will give us the following sets. Bright color, bright flower, bright dress, bright silk, etc. Bright metal, bright gold, bright jewel, bright armor. Bright student, bright pupil, bright boy, bright fellow. Bright face, bright smile, bright eyes, and some others. These sets will lead us to singling out the meanings of the adjective related to each set of combinations, intensive in color, shining, capable, etc. For a transitive verb, on the other hand, the pattern would be verb plus noun. For instance, if we want to investigate the verbs to produce, to create, to compose, the correct procedure would be to consider the semantics of the nouns that are used in the pattern with each of these verbs. So what is it that is produced? What is it that is created? What is it that is composed? There is an interesting hypothesis that the semantics of words regularly used in common contexts, for example, bright colors, to build a house, to create a work of art, etc., are so intimately correlated that each of them casts, as it were, a kind of permanent reflection on the meaning of its neighbor. Note how closely the negative evaluative connotation of the adjective notorious is linked with the negative connotation of the nouns with which it is regularly associated. We usually say a notorious criminal, a notorious thief, a notorious gangster, a notorious gambler, a notorious liar, a notorious miser, etc. All this leads us to the conclusion that context is a good and reliable key to the meaning of the word. Yet, even the jokes given above show how misleading the key can prove. This key can prove in some cases. And here we're faced with two dangers. The first is that of sheer misunderstanding, when the speaker means one thing and the listener takes the word in its other meaning. The second danger has nothing to do with the process of communication, but with research work in the field of semantics. A common error with the inexperienced research worker is to see a different meaning in every new set of combinations. Here is a puzzling question to illustrate what we mean. Now, let us take two examples. An angry letter and an angry man. Is the adjective angry used in the same meaning in both these contexts or in two different meanings? Well, some people will say two and argue that on the one hand, the combinability is different. So man, its name of person, and letter, its name of object. And on the other hand, a letter cannot experience anger. True, it cannot, but it can very well convey the anger of the person who wrote it. As to the combinability, the main point is that a word can realize the same meaning in different sets of combinability. For example, in the pairs merry children, merry laughter, merry faces, merry songs, the adjective merry conveys the same concept of high spirits, whether they are directly experienced by the children or indirectly expressed through the merry faces, the laughter, and the songs of the other word groups. The task of distinguishing between the different meanings of a word and the different variations of combinability is actually a question of singling out the different denotations within the semantic structure of a word. Now let us take, for example, a sad woman, a sad voice, a sad story, a sad scoundrel, and a sad night. So what do you think? How many meanings of sad can you identify in these contexts? Obviously, the first three contexts have the same denotation of sorrow, whereas in the fourth and fifth contexts, the denotations are different. So in these five contexts, we can identify three meanings of sad. So all this leads us to the conclusion that context is not the ultimate criterion for meaning, and it should be used in combination with other criteria. Nowadays, different methods of componential analysis are widely used in semantic research, definitional analysis or transformational analysis. Yet, of course, contextual analysis remains one of the main investigative methods for determining the semantic structure of a word.